Tonight, you are not stepping into a palace. You are stepping into a cage wrapped in silk. The year is 1174, and you are a boy named Baldwin. You're 12 and your hands shake in secret. The walls around you are limestone and incense. The throne smells like cedar and old iron. You don't want it, but it wants you. They hand it to you like it's a gift, but it's not a gift, it's a sentence. A long, slow sentence carved not in stone, but in your bones. You are the king of Jerusalem now, and your skin is already dying. You try to look regal. That's what they say. Regal, dignified. Whole, you smile with a mouth that doesn't always move right. You wave with fingers that don't always feel. They bow, they chant, they pretend they don't notice your foot dragging when you walk. But they notice everyone does. Being king is not gold and glory. It's silence and watching and waiting for the rot to reach your throat. The courtiers murmur behind tapestries. The priests say you are chosen. And your body, your betrayer, your burden, carries you to a throne no child should ever sit on. Now take your seat. Let the nightmare begin. The crown is too big. It presses against your temples like a slow bruise, and the metal smells wrong. Not precious, not sacred, just hot and heavy and wrong. The weight isn't just the gold, it's the eyes. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, staring at you as the bishop places it on your head. Your name echoes through the stone chamber, King Baldwin IV. They say it like they mean it. Like the title will stop your fingers from curling in their sleep. You're 12. You haven't told anyone that your right foot has stopped feeling the floor, that your hand burns in the night and then goes numb, that sometimes when no one is looking, you scrape at your skin and it doesn't hurt. It doesn't feel like anything. They don't know, or they pretend not to. You're not sure which is worse. The ceremony ends. You step down from the platform, and someone catches your arm before you stumble. They smile politely, like it's nothing, like kings don't fall. You look at the nobles lined along the walls. Every robe is pressed, every ring gleaming, every mouth curled just slightly too tight. They're waiting for your reign, for your failure, for your body to rot faster than your kingdom. You smile back. Your lips crack. The skin there doesn't feel like yours anymore. Your sister stands nearby. Sibylla, her face is calm, kind, but her hands twist the hem of her sleeve again and again. You see it, the worry, the question she won't ask aloud. You used to chase each other through the gardens, climb fig trees. Now she walks 2 steps behind, and you don't know if it's etiquette or fear. You spend the evening in the great hall, propped on cushions like a statue that no one is allowed to admit is crumbling. The guests eat, drink, toast to your health. You don't eat much. Your jaw aches from smiling. The bread tastes like dust, the wine like something older than the city. A servant leans close to refill your cup and winces when their arm brushes yours. You feel nothing. You pretend you didn't notice. Later, in your chambers, the physician unwraps your foot and goes quiet. The skin is pale. The nails are blackening. You look away. He doesn't speak, just nods. Wraps it again, bows too deeply, and leaves. You sit in silence, alone but not unobserved. There are always whispers beyond the door. You wonder how long before they stop calling you Your Majesty and start calling you what you are. A boy with a crown and no future. A king made of bone and borrowed time. You lie down, crown off, fever on, the torchlight flickers. The pain is gone. That's not relief. That's what scares you. You close your eyes. Sleep comes slow. The crown waits. You try to hide your hand because it's rotting. The morning comes without warmth. The light touches your face like cold fingers. You sit up slowly, letting your legs hang over the edge of the bed while your robes are laid out in silence. Your fingers won't bend today. You stare at them while the others pretend not to. The middle one has split open, just a crack, but it weeps something dark, and the skin around it is soft and greying like overcooked meat. You curl your hand into your sleeve and don't speak either. What would you say that your own skin offends you? That the thing crawling through your nerves isn't stopping? You already know. Today they want you to ride through the city. Let the people see the boy, king, living, upright, whole. You nod. You nod because nodding is the only thing that still feels like control. The guards line the courtyard. They lift you gently into the saddle, too gently. You hear it, the shift in their breath, the small grunt that says your weight no longer resists them. You grip the reins with one hand, the good one. The other stays hidden, tucked into silk like a secret no one wants to claim. The city smells like olive oil and hot stone. The streets are tight. The people cheer, but their eyes flick to your hands when they think you're not looking. A woman throws flowers. One lands near your horse's hooves. The petals are white, soft, perfect. You think about stepping down just for a moment. Picking one up, pressing it between your fingers like you used to, but your hand wouldn't hold it. It wouldn't feel it. It wouldn't let go. Your horse shifts. You adjust your grip. The sleeve slides back just a little, just enough. A boy at the edge of the crowd sees. He doesn't scream. He doesn't run. He just stares. And then he hides behind his mother's dress. She pulls him close and turns her back on you. The cheering doesn't stop, but you stop hearing it. You return to the palace and dismount without speaking. The stable hand avoids your eyes. You walk slowly to your chamber, hand still wrapped in linen and cloth and silence. Inside, a bowl of warm water waits. You strip the bandage. The crack is wider now. It pulses. The water turns pink, then red, then still. A knock at the door. Your tutor enters. Today's lesson is diplomacy. You smile with your mouth, not your eyes. You tuck your hand beneath the desk. He begins reading from a scroll. You pretend to listen, but your gaze drifts to the window. The same boy from earlier is out there, watching again, his face pressed to the gate. No flowers, no smile. Just eyes that understand too much for his age. You lift your hand slowly hidden beneath the table and wonder how long until the rest of you matches it. Every night, the city smells like sand and prayer. You lie awake. The linen sheets are clean but damp from your skin. The pillow cradles your head like an apology. The walls are made of stone but breathe like a person. The torch sputters in the corner. You told them to leave it lit tonight. You said it was for reading, but the scroll lies untouched on the stool beside your bed. You do not read anymore. You watch and listen. The silence never comes fully. There is always something just beyond the edge, a call to prayer, a merchant's cart squeaking down the hill too late, the shuffling of sandals and whispers from the palace steps. You recognize voices even when you cannot name them. Tonight, the voices are arguing, not loudly, not with passion, just quiet enough to be dangerous. You shift beneath the covers and let your hand rest against your stomach. You no longer feel hunger. They feed you anyway. The city smells like it's holding its breath. The wind brings sand through the window lattice. It settles on the floor in lines. You used to imagine those lines were maps, roads to places beyond these walls. Now they look like cracks, as if the city is breaking quietly around you. You hear your name spoken, not inside your chamber. Outside, soft and careful, a guard says it to another. Then they both go silent. You hold your breath, count to 10, exhale. The night goes. You sit up slowly, not from pain, from the weight. The kind that gathers in your joints and doesn't leave. You walk to the window with steps too measured to be called graceful. The courtyard below is empty, but the gate is open, just a crack. enough to let in a man or let one out. You press your cheek to the stone and close your eyes. The breeze touches you like a confession. There are prayers rising from the east. You know the rhythm. It's older than the crown, older than your illness, older than your name. They say the city is holy. You've never felt it. Not really. Not in the bones. But tonight it hums, as if God is pacing the rooftops. Or maybe just watching to see if you notice. Behind you, a voice clears its throat. You turn too fast. Your knee locks. You fall against the wall and catch yourself with the hand that still remembers how to hold. A young page stands in the doorway. He says your sister has returned from Nablus. She's waiting in the solar. You nod, he leaves. The door does not close. You walk slowly back to the bed and stare at the torch. The flame flickers, bright then low, like it cannot decide whether to stay. You touch the hem of your robe. It's damp, from sweat or fear, or maybe just from the weight of being awake too many nights in a row. The city does not sleep. Neither do you. Your crown feels heavier than your bones. You do not remember falling asleep, but someone woke you anyway. A soft knock. Then silence. Then a second knock that waited too long. You opened your eyes to darkness and the familiar ache behind them. You sat up and the world swayed. Your robe was already laid out. The dark blue one with the silver trim. You knew what that meant, ceremonial, important. The kind of robe they use when they want you to appear strong without saying the word aloud. You let the servants dress you. You didn't ask what for. Asking implies you still expect answers. You no longer do. The stairs are longer now, not in measurement but in effort. Every step asks if it's the last one you'll take standing. You reach the hall and see them before they see you. Advisors, nobles, priests, all standing in a circle with just enough space in the center for a body. Yours. Your chair has been polished, the cushions replaced. They always do that when there's news. You wonder if it's good or bad. You wonder why you still pretend there's a difference. You sit. The crown is brought out, polished, shining. Still too large. It is placed on your head like a stone monument laid on a cracked foundation. Your neck protests, your spine locks, but you do not flinch. One of the priests steps forward. He begins to speak. You hear the words, but not the meaning, until he pauses, looks at you, waits, then says her name. Sibylla, your sister. They want her to wed again. You knew this would come, but not this soon. Not today. Not while the torchlight still smells like last night's prayers, you nod. They take it as approval. You meant it as acknowledgement. There is a difference. They do not ask what you think, only if you consent. You give them the silence they are looking for. Later you find her in the corridor. She is standing near the window you stood beside just hours ago. She does not turn when you approach. You do not speak first. When she does, her voice is steady, but her hands are not. She tells you she understands that the kingdom must come first, that your health makes choices difficult. You reach for her arm. You feel the cloth, but not her. You let go before she can notice. You return to your chamber. The crown is there, sitting on the table watching you. You pick it up with both hands, not to wear, just to feel the weight. It is heavier than you remember. You carry it to the window, the same one. The wind is stronger tonight. You place the crown on the stone sill and step. For a moment you wonder what would happen if you let it fall, if the world would notice, if anyone would run to catch it. You do not move, you do not blink. You just stand there and let the weight settle into your bones instead. You sit in a room full of men who lie to you. The next day comes with no breeze and no silence, only heat, thick and unmoving. It hangs in the corridors and clings to your skin like another robe you didn't ask to wear. Your servants speak quietly, their voices strained from sleep or caution. You don't ask which. The crown is waiting on the table again. You ignore it. Today they want you in council, not for ceremony, for decisions, or the illusion of them. You are led through stone halls that sweat with the air past guards who no longer salute unless someone important is watching. You walk with your hand hidden and your spine upright. The pain in your joints sings like a warning bell you've grown used to. The chamber smells like ink and dust. The council rises when you enter slowly, some with stiffness from age, some with reluctance. You do not ask which. You sit, they follow. The wooden table stretches long and dry between you. There are papers laid out, but no one gestures to them. They look at you instead, waiting to see how you'll sound today, how your voice will land, how long before your fingers tremble. A man you don't trust clears his throat. He speaks of borders, of trade, of peace that costs too much and war that offers too little. His words are shaped carefully, like stones smoothed by the river, but you see the cracks. He speaks to you, but looks to the others. His hands gesture, but never toward you. You nod once and say very little. It's enough. They've learned that your silence makes you more manageable. Another man mentions your health carefully, as if it were a rumor, not a body. You smile, not kindly. Just enough to remind them you are still here. He shifts in his chair. The others do not speak. You feel their thoughts press against the walls like fog. Halfway through the meeting, your vision swims. Just for a moment, the candles blur. The words stretch. Your heart beats too fast, then too slow. Then fast again. You clench your hand beneath the table, the bad one. You feel nothing. You press it harder into your thigh, still nothing. You speak 2 words. Approval, then silence. No one questions it. They're too relieved to fill the air with their own voices. The meeting ends, they bow. You stand slowly. One of them moves to help you. You raise your chin just enough to stop him. He bows again, lower this time, as if he meant well. You know he didn't. None of them do. You walk out without speaking. The hallway smells like stone and sweat and something faintly sour. Back in your chamber, the crown is gone. Someone moved it. You don't ask where. You sit down and stare at your hand, still curled, still numb. You whisper a name that no one hears. Not Sibylla, not God, just your own, to see if it still sounds real. Your body betrays you before your enemies. Do you wake before the bell? No sound stirs, but your eyes open all the same. It's not fear. Fear needs strength. This is something softer, something quieter. Your skin feels tight this morning. Your tongue dry. You move your arm and feel the tug. You look down and see the sleeve stuck to your wrist. Just a little, enough to remind you that something underneath has broken through. You peel the fabric back slowly. The skin beneath is split again. The smell is faint but sharp, like wet iron and salt. You tear the rest of the sleeve away in silence. No one sees. That makes it easier. You press a cloth to it. The bleeding slows. But it doesn't stop. They knock. You do not answer. The door opens anyway. A young servant peers in, eyes lowered. He mumbles something about your morning walk. You tell him you'll dress yourself today. He hesitates, then leaves. You sit and breathe through your teeth. Your knees ache now deeply. Not from age, from something deeper, something bone, colored and patient. When you finally stand, the room tilts, just a little. You press your good hand against the wall, steady yourself, no one sees. That makes it easier. You dress slowly. You choose the longer robe, the one with sleeves that drape past the wrists. You pull the gloves from the drawer. You haven't worn them in weeks. You slide them on and watch the outline of your hand become something respectable again. Almost outside, the city is already awake. The bells begin. The market hums. You walk slowly along the upper corridor. From here, the courtyard looks peaceful, distant. The guards shift below like chess pieces. No one wants to play with. You reach the end of the walkway and stop. The light is harsh today. The sun doesn't care who it touches. It glints off the stone, off the metal of your belt, off the white of the linen poking from your sleeve where the glove doesn't quite cover the bandage. Then it happens, your leg gives out. Not sharply, not with drama, just fails. You sink to one knee and stare at the floor. The tile is cold against your palm. You hear nothing for a moment. No birds, no voices, no breeze, just your own breath rough. Real, then footsteps. Someone is coming. You don't look up. You whisper the word no, but not to them, to your own bones, to your own skin. The steps stop behind you, then retreat. No questions, no help, just retreat. You rise slowly, drag your leg behind you for the rest of the walk. The pain is back now, not sharp, not unbearable, just there, like it always is, like it always will be. You reach your chamber, the crown is on the table again. You sit across from it and stare. The glove on your right hand has soaked through. You ride into war strapped to the saddle like a corpse, you told them. You could ride, you said it without smiling. They didn't believe you, but they didn't say it. They just nodded and brought out the armor polished too brightly for a boy who can no longer feel half his limbs. They helped you dress with hands that shook only a little. You did not ask why you were needed out there. You already knew presence. Symbol, proof of strength that looks better from a distance. They didn't need your sword. They needed your shadow. The horse is tall, black, uninterested. You stand beside it and grip the saddle with your good hand while the other one trembles under the glove. Someone behind you clicks their tongue softly and reaches to lift your leg. You stop them with a look, then fail to mount anyway. Two guards step forward. They lift you with care that does not feel like respect. They adjust the straps, too many, across your waist, your thighs, your chest. You feel like luggage being secured for a long journey. The reins are looped through your palm and tied, gently, like you're a child being trusted with the illusion of control. When you ride through the gate, the people cheer. Of course they do. They see the armor, the horse, the straight back and stillness of your form. They do not see the leather digging into your ribs or the cloth between your knees to prevent you from slipping sideways. They call you brave. You are not. You are bound. But it looks the same from far away. The march is slow. A procession of shining helmets and tired eyes. The men glance back at you, some nod. One stares too long. You pretend not to notice the pity. You look ahead, always ahead. You do not speak unless someone speaks first. You do not drink unless offered. When the wind shifts, you smell smoke, not from battle, from the camps ahead. The cooking fires and oil-slick tents waiting to welcome more bodies to the waiting field. At dusk, you reach the ridge below. The enemy flags like teeth in the earth. You're told to stay there, be seen. You nod. The sun sets behind your shoulders. Someone says it makes you look divine. You do not answer. You're afraid to move. The straps are tight. The horse is shifting. Your hand is numb again. You feel a trickle down your side, not sweat. You know the feeling of blood by now. You do not look. When the horn blows, the men ride forward. You do not. You stay on the ridge, still as a statue. They need you visible, that's all. Someone hands you a banner. You lift it with your left arm. The wind pulls it. It flutters high, majestic. The men cheer when they see it. They think it means hope. It doesn't. It means you're still alive for now, strapped in place. Looking like a king, bleeding like a secret. Your sister thinks you should step down. She's not wrong. They bring you home under moonlight. The procession quiet, the hooves muffled by dust and exhaustion. Your banner is folded, your armor removed, your lips dry and split where the sun kissed too long. The blood soaked through your side didn't reach the surface. It dried underneath the silk and the leather and the lie. When they untied the straps, your body slumped forward. Not from pain, just from release. No one said anything. Not then. Now you sit in the solar, wrapped in a robe that smells of lavender and lye. The cushions beneath you are too soft. You sink into them like sand. The room is warm, silent except for the small scraping of a coal spoon in the brazier. She enters without warning. Sibylla. Her voice does not greet you. Her eyes do. They hold your face like a mirror. You brace yourself. She does not sit. She paces once, then turns to you, still wrapped like a relic. Her mouth is a line drawn in grief. She tells you the people worry, that the court is restless, that your body is no longer a place where decisions should be born. She does not use the word throne. She does not use the word brother. She says your name once, not loud, not soft, just enough to remind you that someone still sees the boy buried under the bandages. You do not interrupt. You let her finish. She says someone must rule when you cannot. She says she can carry it. You believe her. That's the worst part. You believe she can. You close your eyes. You try to summon anger, but your body is too tired for fire. Only fog. When you speak, your voice is hoarse. You tell her you know. You tell her you've known. You don't say how long. She kneels, not to beg, just to look at you evenly, eye to eye. She says nothing more. She reaches for your hand, not the rotted one, the other. She holds it. Her grip is warm, steady. Yours is not. For a moment the room feels still, as if time has paused out of courtesy, as if the city has decided to look away. You open your mouth to say something else, but you don't know what, so you close it again. She rises, smooth, unshaken. You see the future written in the set of her shoulders. It does not hurt. Not yet. She leaves without asking for your blessing. She does not need it. That night you lie in bed without the crown nearby. It's not missing. It's just not necessary. Not anymore. You stare at your hand where she touched it. You hold it up to the torchlight and wonder how something so cold could still feel warm for a moment. You wonder if that's what stepping down feels like. Not defeat, just release. Like loosening a strap that's held you too long. They let you listen through the wall instead of letting you speak the next morning. Comes without ceremony. No bells, no pages, no physician at the door. Only the slow rise of sunlight across the floor like a patient truth. You are not summoned. You are not invited. And so you sit. Wrapped in the same robe, the lavender scent now dull and unfamiliar. The cushions beneath you feel colder. The silence in the hallway is not empty. It is full of voices you're not meant to hear. You shift toward the corner of the room where the stones thin between chambers. You know this wall. You've leaned against it before as a child, listening to guards gamble over bread. Now you listen to power. Your council is meeting without you. You recognize the voices. Men who used to wait for your nod. Men who used to shape their words to fit your silence. Now they speak freely. They speak about arrangements, about Sibylla, about strength and urgency and how best to frame the change, so it doesn't look like surrender. They do not curse you. They do not speak in cruelty. That would have been easier. Instead, they speak in tones reserved for mourning, the kind people use at graves when they think the dead can still hear them. You are not dead. Not yet. But it doesn't seem to matter anymore. One voice says your name softly, Another says it louder, with something like pity folded into the syllables. You press your palm flat against the wall. It's cool, steady, unmoved. They discuss what must be done next. Who will ride? Who will lead? Who will smile for the people so the illusion of control remains intact? No one mentions your hand. No one mentions the robe, the straps, the crown, the long days that turned into longer nights. Eventually, the voices fade. The chairs scrape. The door opens and closes. Footsteps disappear down stone corridors. You remain still. The silence grows thick again. This time, you don't fill it. Later, a servant knocks and announces a midday meal. You do not respond. The door creaks open anyway. A tray is set down near the window. Bread, pomegranate. A cup of something warm. The door shuts again. You rise slowly, walk to the table. Tear a piece of bread with one hand. Dip it in the liquid. You do not taste it. Your eyes stay on the wall. The chair at your desk still holds your cloak from the ride. Dried blood like rust at the edge. You think of washing it, then you don't. You turn your face back to the stone and lean against it once more. This time not to listen, just to remember what it feels like. To be close to a conversation without being part of it. The crown is still missing. No one asks about it. No one mentions it. You're starting to think they never will. You can't feel your sword anymore, but you still carry it. They call for you at dusk, not with urgency, not with reverence. Just a quiet message from a tired guard who does not look you in the eyes. There is a gathering on the north wall. A ceremonial inspection, they say. A formality. Presence requested, not required. You nod. The robe is already on the chair. Someone prepared it without asking. The belt, the gloves, and beside them, your sword. You haven't worn it in days. You reach for it now, and the hilt meets your palm, like something half remembered. The weight feels the same, but your hand does not. You slide it into the sheath, slow and careful. There's no pain, just numbness. You could be holding air or fire. You wouldn't know the difference. The walk to the ramparts is short. Familiar stones beneath your feet. Familiar silence from the guards flanking your sides. They do not offer to help you. They do not speak. It's a quiet kindness you didn't expect. When you arrive, the soldiers stand in a line, their armor dull in the fading light. The captain steps forward, bows slightly, and gestures to the formation. You raise your chin. You do not smile. You simply step forward, your sword at your side, your glove hiding the tremor beneath. You walk the line slowly. Eyes pass over you like wind. You nod once, then twice. The routine is easy, the distance is not. Halfway down the row, your foot slips, not enough to fall, just enough to jolt the sword against your hip. The blade thuds against the leather. You don't feel it, not even the echo. You pause, adjust your balance. The soldiers remain still, they see, but they pretend not to. That's the game now. Everyone sees, everyone pretends. You finish the walk, return to your place. The captain says the words required. You nod again. He dismisses the men. They file out with precision. No cheer, no conversation, just the rhythm of boots on stone. You turn to leave. The sword shifts as you move. You feel the pull on your belt, but not the weight on your body. You stop at the corner of the stairway. Look down. The city glows with torchlight, soft orange and flickers of movement. Life continues. You reach for wrap your fingers around it. You squeeze. Nothing. You close your eyes tight. You picture the first time you held it, the thrill, the fear, the heat in your hands. Now there is nothing. Not even absence. Just a flat silence where sensation used to be still. You wear it because kings carry swords. even when they can't use them. Even when the blade is just decoration, you walk back to your chamber in silence. The leather creaks with each step. You listen to the sound as if it belongs to someone else. At the door, you do not take the sword off. You sleep with it still strapped across your hip, just in case. Pilgrims whisper that you are cursed. You hear it first from the laundress, not from her mouth, but from the way her hands hesitate when folding your tunic. She glances once at your shoulder where the fabric wears thin, then again at your throat where the bandage sits just beneath the collar. Her silence is a message dressed in manners. Later that morning, another servant drops the tray just outside your chamber. Doesn't knock, doesn't wait. The bread is warm, the cup is full, but no one stays to pour. In the courtyard, the pilgrims arrive. A long line of them wrapped in dust and prayers. They walk barefoot across the flagstones. They kiss the stones. They whisper their sins. They weep against the walls. Some murmur your title like a hymn. Others do not speak it at all. You watch from the upper gallery, leaning just far enough to see, not be seen. One kneels for hours, then, just before standing, looks up at the palace windows. Not toward you, through you. He crosses himself, then spits into the dirt. The next day, a priest sends word. They say a story is spreading through the roads, that a boy king who wears gloves in summer cannot be trusted, that a man too sick to ride into battle, yet too proud to give up his throne, must be hiding something darker than disease. They say your body is the punishment, your reign the warning. You are not just ill, you are cursed. You do not send word back. You have no correction to offer. You've been told worse by the quiet in your bones. At Vespers, the cathedral is full. They light candles, but none in your name. They sing hymns, but never the ones chosen at your coronation. A mother pulls her child close when you pass through the outer nave. The boy stares, you smile. He doesn't return it, just buries his face in her side. Later, alone, you pull off the gloves. You place them on the table beside the untouched bread. You study your hand in the firelight. The fingers don't move. The skin doesn't heal. You turn it over. There's a new wound, or maybe an old one reopening. You press it gently and watch nothing happen. No pain, no pulse, just stillness. You think of the pilgrims, the way they knelt, the way they touched the stone and then drew their hands away as if burned. You think of how they call the city holy, how they call you a shadow within it. You wonder what it means to rule a kingdom that no longer prays for you. When the bells ring again, you don't rise. You stay in your chair with your cursed hand open like a question. No one wants to answer. The fire cracks. The gloves stay folded. You watch the shadows stretch across the floor like they, too, are beginning to keep their distance. You dream of the desert because the cold hurts less. The night is thick with quiet. The furs around your shoulders are heavy, pulled to your chin, tucked beneath your feet by careful hands hours ago. Still, the cold seeps through. It does not howl or sting, it hums. A slow, creeping thing that nests between your ribs and settles behind your eyes. You blink, but the dark doesn't change. It stays the same shade of nothing. Somewhere in the corridor, a torch sputters out. You hear it hiss, then silence. When sleep comes, it comes without kindness. You dream of sand, endless stretches of white heat and golden air. You walk barefoot across dunes that shift beneath you like waves. You feel the sun press against your skin. For the first time in weeks, you don't wear gloves. You don't wear robes. There is no crown, just light and warmth and wind that does not judge. You kneel. You press your palms into the sand. They leave prints. That is how you know you are alive. You wake with your mouth dry and your teeth clattering softly. The fire in your chamber has gone low. The furs are still tucked around you, but your skin betrays the lie. You press your hand to your chest and feel nothing. Not comfort, not pain, just a vague outline of being. You turn your head and cough once. The sound is sharp, too loud for the room. You wait to hear footsteps. No one comes. You rise slowly. The floor bites your feet through the socks. You shuffle toward the window. The frost clings to the corners of the glass like a secret. It won't release. You press your hand to the pane. It leaves no mark. You whisper the word desert. The sound vanishes into your breath. You imagine yourself there again. Skin warm, sand soft. No throne, no watchers. No bandages hidden beneath silk. Behind you, the fire snaps. You do not turn. You rest your forehead against the window. The cold stings your skin sharp and clear. It is the most real thing you have felt all week. Later you are told the pilgrims have moved on, that fewer come now, that the road has grown wet and cruel with winter. You nod. You do not ask where they went. You already know. Somewhere warmer. Somewhere hollier. That night, before sleep, you do not pray. You lie back beneath the furs. You close your eyes and picture the dunes. You try to remember how it felt to sweat. You imagine the sun peeling your sorrow away grain by grain. But when sleep takes you again, you're not in the desert. You're back on the mountain path alone. Snow rising. Fingers frozen around a sword that no longer belongs to you. You wake before the dream ends. You always do. They start calling you the Leper King. It begins in whispers, like most cruelties do. A soldier passing the chapel mutters it beneath his breath. A merchant tells his son not to point when you walk through the market. The title clings to the corners of conversations, always just out of reach. Then it grows bolder. A noblewoman speaks it behind a fan. A foreign envoy uses it with a crooked smile. The scribes pretend not to write it. But the parchment holds the ink anyway. You are no longer Baldwin, not even your grace. You are the Leper King. The name walks into rooms before you do. It lingers after you leave. It sticks to doors and hands and silver plates. You hear it from behind veils, through stone carried by wind. You say nothing at first. You try to wear it as armor, but it cuts instead of shields. Every syllable feels like someone pulling a thread loose from your skin. One afternoon, a boy delivers a letter and stares too long at your gloves. You say thank you. He does not answer. Just backs away slowly, eyes wide and wet. You do not open the letter. You hold it in your lap until the sun goes down and the wax melts from the seal. They no longer serve you wine in shared goblets, no longer walk beside you in the chapel. The priests place your communion on the edge of the altar and step back. You pick it up with your good hand and taste nothing. Even the bread has learned to avoid you. Your reflection in the basin has softened. Less man, more outline. You stare at it and wonder if your name ever really belonged to you, or if it was borrowed a temporary shape, a syllable for someone who would not last. You dip your hand in the water and watch it ripple. The face bends, then vanishes. Zone night. A servant leaves your chamber door half open. You hear a girl in the corridor ask if it's true, if the king is falling apart piece by piece. Her nurse hushes her, but the question has already taken root. You close the door yourself. The latch clicks louder than usual. Later, alone in the silence, you say your name aloud. Not the one they gave you, the one your mother used when you scraped your knees in the orchard, the one you forgot you missed. You whisper it again and again until the fire dies and your voice fades with it. You don't correct them anymore. You let the title grow. Let it rot the throne. Let it wrap itself around your story like ivy around stone. Because even a cursed name is still a name, and even a disease once crowned must be remembered. You stare at your gloves before you sleep. You wonder if they will bury you in them. You hope they do. Let the legend match the name. Let the myth fit the skin. You still try to lead them. They still let you bleed alone. They send word at dawn, a skirmish near the coast. Too small for banners, too close for comfort. They ask if you'll ride. They say it carefully, like a suggestion you're free to decline. You don't. You dress in silence, no attendance, no prayer. Just the same gloves, the same sword you still can't feel, and a cloak stiff with the weight of old dust. The horse does not flinch beneath you. It knows the straps by now, knows how to carry you without asking questions. The men do not speak as you ride past. They nod, barely, some salute. But none hold your gaze for more than a breath. They look through you, or worse, around you. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. The fight is brief. One volley of arrows, 2 broken lines, and a retreat that smells more like boredom than fear. You do not lift your sword. You raise your arm once to signal the charge. That's all. The men cheer when it's done. Someone shouts your name. Not the new one, the old one, just once. Then it's gone, swallowed by the clang of blades and the sound of horses being reined in. Later, in the camp, they dress your wound behind a curtain. A small slice across your thigh. You didn't notice it until the blood warmed your boot. The healer says nothing. Just works quickly, eyes on your skin, hands practiced and dry. When he finishes, he bows low and steps back. Not out of respect, out of caution. You know the difference now. The others drink. They laugh. They slap backs and share stories that will grow louder by morning. You sit beside the fire with a cup in your hand, and no one beside you. The captain nods across the flames. You nod back. That Summerland sings, a victory song with your name in the 3rd verse. But the tone stumbles there just slightly, like the singer wasn't sure whether to use it. You listen anyway. You pretend the words still fit. When the fire burns low, you stand to leave. Your leg throbs, your hand shakes as you pour the last of the wine into the dirt. You turn away and walk back to your tent. No one follows. No one calls after you. They celebrate behind your back now. They bleed together and leave you to clean yourself. Inside the tent, the air is thick. The basin holds water stained pink. You peel the bandage from your leg and watch the blood bead fresh again. You dab it with linen, not gently, not with care, just enough to keep it from ruining the sheets. You won today. The banner still flies, the men still cheer. And yet the silence afterward clings to your skin tighter than the bandages ever could. You still lead them, but they still let you bleed alone. You watch the walls of Jerusalem while thinking about death. The wind carries dust across the balcony, as if the city itself is tired. Below, Jerusalem breathes slowly, its rooftops bathed in the dim gold of a late afternoon sun. You stand wrapped in layers that do nothing against the cold. One hand resting on the stone ledge, the other twitching quietly beneath your cloak. You stare out across the walls, not watching for enemies, but waiting for something to end. You think about the throne, not with anger, not with longing, just with distance. You wonder who will sit on it next, who will shift in the same chair, hear the same petitions, wear the same weight without knowing how heavy it truly is. You picture their face clear, then blurred, then gone altogether. You blink. The sunlight doesn't move. A bird lands on the edge of the parapet, small, dark. It cocks its head toward you, unafraid. You consider speaking to it, you don't. It flutters away before the thought finishes. You exhale, a cloud forms, dissolves. You wonder if your memory will do the same. Behind you, the palace murmurs, the sound of boots on tile, laughter down corridors, the clink of silver in a room you're no longer invited to. You do not turn around. If they need you, they will knock. If they forget you, they will whisper. You trace a crack in the stone with your finger. It runs the length of the ledge, jagged and shallow, a line carved by time, not war. You wonder how long it took to appear, if it began quietly with just a hairline whisper. If anyone noticed when it grew. Your thoughts drift again to the throne, to your sister, to the boy she'll raise in your shadow. You wonder if she'll speak of you, if she'll call you Baldwin, or just the Leper King. If she'll tell stories of victories or of silence. You try to picture your name on a scroll 100 years from now. You can't. It slips away like water through cloth. You look down at your gloves. At the shape they hide, you think of removing them, laying your hands bare on the stone, letting the sun see what everyone else fears. You don't, not because you're ashamed, but because you're tired. The bells ring softly from the church across the square. Evening prayer. You don't go anymore, not because you've stopped believing, but because belief no longer fits into hours and rituals. It fits into quiet moments like this. Alone watching the city you fought to protect, wondering who will forget you first. A breeze stirs your cloak. You close your eyes. For a second, it feels like you could let go, not fall. Just loosen. Like thread unspooling, you grip the stone. Not to stay alive, just to feel something that doesn't slip. You whisper your name into the wind. It doesn't echo, it just disappears. The priests say you are holy. You just want to be touched. They anoint your forehead with oil that smells like myrrh and memory. Their hands hover, always hover. Close enough to bless, far enough not to offend. They call you holy now. They say your suffering is sacred, that your wounds are a mirror of the saints, that your pain purifies the kingdom like incense in a sealed room. You nod because nodding is easier than asking them to stop. They kneel when they see you, the priests, the monks, the barefoot pilgrims who whisper prayers through cracked lips. You never asked for worship, only warmth, only a hand that doesn't tremble when it reaches for yours, only fingers that linger for more than ceremony. Your body has become a relic. People talk about it like it's separate from you, like it was given to you rather than something you were born into. They use words like offering and testimony. You want to ask if they'd trade places just for a day. Just long enough to wake up not feeling like a statue crumbling one grain at a time. At night you lie still, wrapped in cloth, as if preparing for burial. You stare at the canopy above your bed, and imagine a hand reaching down, not to heal, not to pray, but simply to press against your chest and say, "You are still here. You are still real." Once, a servant tripped and caught herself on your shoulder. Her fingers gripped you for a second, just a second. But it was enough. The weight of her hands, you did not speak of it. She avoided your eyes for weeks. You never corrected her. You wanted to thank her. They call you holy, but holiness feels cold. It feels like stone corridors and empty chambers where no one enters without a purpose. It feels like your own name being spoken in rooms where you are not welcome. You wonder if sainthood always feels like isolation disguised as reverence. One afternoon, you try something. You tell your physician not to wear gloves. Just once, just for the bandage on your arm. He hesitates, says nothing, then nods. His hands are rough dry, but warm. When he presses cloth to your skin, you breathe deeper than you have in weeks. He says nothing when he's done. You don't thank him, but you want to weep later. You run your own fingers along the place he touched. The skin doesn't remember much anymore, but your heart does. It flutters faintly against your ribs like a bird too tired to fly, but too stubborn to die. The priests come again. They say your pain is your purpose. They say the kingdom draws strength from your silence. You smile, but in the silence after their words, you press your own hand to your chest, trying to find the beat, hoping it's still there, hoping someone else will find it too. Your final war smells like incense and rotting bandages. The tent is thick with heat and the metallic breath of old wounds. You lie half, propped against a pillow soaked through with sweat that refuses to dry. The physician says the fever is climbing, that your lungs sound like a flooded cellar. You tell him to bring your armor anyway. He doesn't argue, he just bows and steps into the dusk without looking back. Outside, the banners sway gently in the windless dark. Gold lions, black crosses, the red slash of a crusade. Nobody remembers the beginning of. They rise because the soldiers still believe in ceremony. You rise because belief has nothing to do with it. The cot creaks under your weight. The world spins slowly. You grip the edge of the basin with one hand and your sword with the other. You're not sure which one keeps you from falling. They dress you like a relic. The linen underlayer, the leather braces, the metal plates cold and unfamiliar against your ribs. You don't feel your fingers as they slide into the gauntlets. You don't feel your feet as they slide into the boots. The only thing you feel is the fever, burning just behind your eyes, licking your spine like a secret you're not ready to tell. You mount your horse before dawn. You say nothing to the men gathered around you. They cheer because they think that's what they're supposed to do. You nod once, and they cheer louder. One begins to cry quietly. You pretend not to notice. You ride to the front, because that's where a king goes, even one whose crown no longer fits and whose blood has started to sour. The valley opens up before you like a cracked mouth. The enemy waits on the far ridge, their armor glinting red with sunrise. You breathe deep, but the air stinks of incense from the priest's last prayer and the sweet, sick perfume of the bandages under your cloak. You smile anyway, not because it feels good, but because it keeps your teeth from chattering. When the horn sounds, you do not hesitate. You kick forward. The sword in your hand is lighter than you remember. You do not swing with strength. You swing with memory, with something stitched together from grit and dignity and the quiet knowledge that your name might be spoken for a few more years if you die like this. On a horse in battle facing forward, the first clash rings like a bell through your bones. You taste blood, yours maybe. You don't care. The second clash is softer. The third brings darkness for a moment, then light again, then pain, then nothing. But you're still upright somehow, still swinging, still leading, still breathing through the rot, through the incense, through the fever that has begun to blur the shape of the battlefield. You no longer see faces, only colors, only motion. You do not know if you are winning, but you know you are not retreating. And that, for now, is enough. You die young, with a crown beside you, and no one holding your hand. The walls of your chamber are quiet now. No chants, no drums, no couriers brushing past with messages they don't want to deliver. Just stillness, and the soft rustle of your own breath unraveling. They carried you back after the battle, pale, broken in ways they couldn't mend. You didn't scream. You didn't ask what was lost. You just asked for the window to be opened. They left it cracked, enough to let the air in, not enough for anyone to reach through. Your body rests under linen bleached too many times. The crown sits on a low stool beside the bed, polished untouched, waiting for another head. Your gloves are folded neatly near your feet. No one dared remove them. They still don't. The servants come in pairs now, their eyes never lifting from the floor. They change the water, they whisper to each other, then they vanish like smoke. Your sister visited once. Her eyes were red. She pressed a kiss to your forehead and said you had done enough. You smiled with cracked lips but didn't answer. Not because you disagreed, because you no longer had the strength to speak. After she left, you stared at the ceiling for hours, watching shadows stretch across the stone, as if time itself had grown tired. The priests came next. They offered blessings, called you holy again, a vessel, a martyr. You blinked. They took it as reverence. They left a small wooden cross on your nightstand. You never touched it, not because you didn't believe, but because it felt too late for symbols. You think about the orchard, the one from your boyhood, before the gloves, before the throne, before your name belonged to the world more than it did to you. You remember running there, your hands scraped, your knees muddy. You remember someone calling your name just before sunset. Not the king's name, yours. You close your eyes and hope to hear it again, but no one speaks. No one holds your hand. The final breath you take tastes like iron and dust. You drift quietly, not in fear, not in peace, just in the empty space between both. When they find you, they kneel, they cry. They touch the sheets, but not your skin. The crown stays beside you, unworn. Your body still, the gloves untouched. You are 24. Your name will be carved in stone. The stories will say you were brave, that you held a sword longer than most men hold hope, that you led with bones that splintered and eyes that never turned away. But no story will mention that you died alone, that your final moment came with no hand to grip, that no warmth found your fingers, that the silence at the end was not majestic, not holy, just cold. You will be remembered, but not embraced, honored, but not held. And the crown beside you will shine longer than the memory of your face. So that was what it was like to be King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem. Not the marble statue in the cathedral or the glowing lines in the history books. Just a boy who became a king too soon and a ghost too young. A boy who wore a crown heavier than his bones, whose hands were wrapped in linen before his enemies ever reached him. Who fought not just armies, but silence, distance, and the quiet way people learn to look past you when you start to disappear. They'll call him the Leper King like it was a title, but they won't talk about the nights he stayed awake just to remember what touch felt like. They won't mention the sword he lifted even when he couldn't feel it, or the throne that outlived the body that held it together. He died like so many great names do, eerily alone and misunderstood. But there's something strangely human about that, something soft beneath all the glory. So if you remember him, remember this too. He was more than the crown, more than the disease. He was real, and being real in a world that only wanted legend was the hardest part of all. Good night.